It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul and Mary Jo are here, and we got a great show for you. Microsoft, just before record time, announced the SKUs, the units for Windows 10. Which Windows 10 will you be buying? We'll find out next on Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 413, recorded May 13th, 2015. A SKU for You. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Blue Apron. Blue Apron will send you all the ingredients to cook fresh, delicious meals with simple step-by-step instructions right to your door. See what's on the menu this week and get your first 2 meals free by going to blueapron.com/twit. That's blueapron.com/twit. And by Prosper. Prosper is a peer-to-peer lending marketplace that connects people who are looking to borrow money with those who have money to lend. Visit prosper.com/twit and receive a $50 Visa gift card when you get a loan. And by audible.com. To download the free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/windows. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover Windows, and I might say mightily. So we should probably rename this to Windows Mightily.
Not Windows Meekly.
Windows Meekly. No, never. I think we have the firebrands of the Windows tech community. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mary Jo Foley, all about Microsoft.com.
I feel like a firebrand. Woo.
A firebrand. That is a very antiquated phrase, isn't it?
It's an odd choice of a word.
You're a firebrand.
Being a firebrand is in your wheelhouse, Mary Jo.
Oh, the wheelhouse word again.
Well, we're using antiquated terms.
And the man with the wheelhouse, of course, Paul Thurrott. Everything's in his wheelhouse at Thurrott.com. You've seen the blog, now get the mug. Or the beer stein.
Yeah.
Beer stein.
Oh, I want it. Oh, look at that. It's a little small, though. Shouldn't
Whoa.
Shouldn't I be able to put a liter in there?
I believe that's more than a pint.
Is it?
Is it more than a pint?
I think so.
Oh, okay. It looks small because you're such a big man.
Because I'm huge. Yeah, it looks like one of those little play sets that you give the kids for like tea. Yeah.
Well, I'm just pointing out that your coffee cup looks like 10 times bigger than that.
It does. It looks huge.
So there's something going, some sort of
today
weird...
I'm just drinking Dunkin' Donuts coffee. So.
Oh, that's not coffee. What is it about you East Coasters, you New Englanders? You really love the Dunkin' Donuts.
It's just a
people act like it's like the world's greatest coffee.
And availability, really.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
We went back to see my mom when my daughter was maybe 12, and we passed a Dunkin' Donuts, and she insisted on stopping. It's Dunkin', the legendary Dunkin' Donuts. I said, honey, it's not. I said, all right, you got to find out someday. All right, let's talk Windows, and this is big news. The Windows SKUs are here.
Yeah. It was nice. Microsoft dropped this news right before we started Windows Weekly.
So
I think they're thinking of us when they do this.
How can you have SKUs if something's free?
Yeah. Okay. Man, this is a complex topic.
It sure is.
So let's start with what the SKUs are, maybe.
Okay.
So, a lot of people still thought that there would be one Windows 10 SKU, even though Microsoft has said repeatedly there would be multiple ones. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if people thought there would be 6 or 9.
Wow. What?
Or 21. Or
Yeah.
Wow.
So they announced the SKUs today. There are 6 main ones, and then 3 more that are IoT SKUs.
Oh, embedded then. Well, that's a specialty product.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Leave the embedded ones to the
They still
side.
expanded both,
Yeah. So here's the 6 SKUs. There's Home, Mobile, which is the new version for the phone, and the small tablet SKU. But that's what we had heard it was probably going to be called, because that's what they were calling it in the Insiders program.
And they don't have to worry about Sky suing them over that name, because
Mobile. Windows
they've had
10
it
Mobile.
for a while.
Yeah. Windows 10 Mobile Enterprise, brand new.
Then that's the one that won't be free, right?
Well, we'll get into free and paid in a minute.
Okay.
But, Windows 10 Pro, Windows 10 Enterprise, and Windows 10 Education. Those are the 6. Wait a
minute. Okay. Home, mobile.
Mobile.
Actually, there's a better way to organize these, I think. We should the mobile ones should be off by themselves.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Because there's mobile enterprise.
Mobile and mobile
which is new.
enterprise.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So home, pro, enterprise, and education.
There. Yeah, that's okay. That's rational.
Is it? because it's hard to tell from this description because they really don't explain a lot about what the differences are. But my understanding of education is that it's basically just enterprise rebranded for education. But if you accept the fact that a managed education environment is just
right
the same thing as an enterprise. I mean,
right.
Why? I hate to see this kind of proliferation of SKUs. Like I just think it's unnecessary.
In fact, it is more, as Mary Jo points out in her article. It is 2 more than Windows 8 had. Windows 8 was only 4
That's what
SKUs.
I mean. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like you don't in this day and age when Apple has 1 SKU for iOS and 1 SKU for Mac OS 10, you don't make more SKUs. And they keep talking about 1 Windows.
So here's why they made more.
1-ish.
Which it's so they can charge you, right? It's for pricing.
So the free one will be which?
So this is even murky. So we believe Windows 10 Home will be one of the free ones, but only
they say it explicitly which ones are free.
Only for the first year that Windows 10 is out, and we don't know if they will have a price on it after that, which I bet they will.
Oh no, of course they will. Although I would say Windows 10 Mobile probably won't, because it's only available with new hardware.
You buy it with the phone.
And they've never charged for an upgrade to Windows Phone ever. So I'm sure that one.
Windows 10 Mobile Enterprise, I bet you will cost. And that also
Right. No, I'm talking about the base.
And that Enterprise.
But that's not one of the ones that's free for the first year.
Right. Enterprise Mobile implies kind of some sort of secure store and IT control,
I thought it just implied price gouging. But okay. I guess that's a nonsense.
But it would make sense that you give away Windows Mobile, but if you want the enterprise features that are designed, for...
I find this all to be very depressing. When I think about Windows 10 heading out to consumers, individuals of any kind, it should just be called Windows 10. Should be no Pro, no Home.
And it will be. It will be.
That's the thing that most bothers me is Home versus Pro. Everybody understands there's an enterprise SKU. Maybe you can understand there's an education SKU. But if you're giving away Windows, what does Home versus Pro mean?
Right.
Are they both free?
Yeah. So
yes,
here's what we know about Pro so far. We know that some people are going to get Windows 10 Pro for free the first year that Windows 10 is available, but we don't know if it means everybody.
So maybe if you have Pro 8 or 7... You get Pro.
That's the way to. I think that's the correct assumption.
Right. So you can jump to if you're a Windows 7 or a Windows 8 Pro user, the first year that Windows 10 is out, we believe you're going to be able to upgrade to it for free. Yeah. But there are a lot of things we don't know. Like, does that only apply to domain joined PCs? Does that mean if you take that SKU that you agree to take all the updates, features, and security fixes from Microsoft because you took the free version? And what if you don't want all of them? What if you want to be on that Windows Update for Business thing? Does that mean you don't get it for free?
Right. That's actually good. That's a good point.
I don't know.
Yep. Okay. I don't have anything to add to that. You're right. That is a question.
Yeah. Question, right? So,
Not a question.
From this list, we can't exactly say which of these, I don't think we can say which of these are free and paid, except we know Windows 10 Enterprise is not free.
Yeah, I don't think anyone expects, Windows 10 Home Pro, whatever, let's say Home Pro, to be free after a year, right? I mean, I that would be fairly surprising. Here's the thing. I think that the clarity on this is going to come over a series of other announcements. For example, at some point they'll talk about retail packaging. At some point they'll talk about retail pricing. At some point they'll talk about whether there will be an inbox upgrade, as there is today in Windows 8.1, to go from a lower end SKU to a higher end SKU, or to add features, however you want to think of it. I mean, there's just a lot we don't know. And this blog post was delightfully vague. I mean, I congratulate them on their ability to never clarify anything. I mean, you make an announcement like this where it's like, here's a bunch of products, and it just opens a can of worms about new questions.
Yeah, it does. We at least know the names of the SKUs. And I've seen some headlines say these are all of the SKUs. I actually don't think these are all. Because
Right.
what about System Builder?
Yep.
We don't know about that.
And what about
And
the
we
whole
don't-
upgrade versus full version thing? Remember
Right, we don't know
System
how
Builder
they
is
switched course over between Windows 7 and Windows 8? And actually,
Right.
maybe, I'm sorry, Windows 8 and 8.1, I think, is how when they
System
switched
Builder
course.
is the OEM version.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're building your own PC, is there going to be a SKU for you?
Gee, I wonder. That's interesting. I wonder. Yeah.
Oh, there'll be a SKU for you.
Oh, there's a SKU for you, my
There's going to be a SKU for
Oh,
everybody.
is there a SKU for you? I got
It'll
you.
be Windows 10 Paul Edition.
Everybody has their own SKU.
I really hate this SKU thing. I really, really do.
Why, Paul? Why?
Just because the rest of the world has moved on, and Microsoft has shown themselves to be pretty savvy to the fact that the world is changing.
Yeah.
And then they do something like this, which is so old school. How about just having something called Windows 10 and we'll license it according to the device? We don't have to have names,
Right.
You could say something like, it may not make sense to have certain features on a phone, so you just don't get those. It's still Windows 10, They don't have to have names and different, price lists and, all this stuff. I mean, it's just, it's too bad.
I think, though, when you walk into a Microsoft store or a Best Buy, they're not going to say to you, do you want Windows 10 Pro or mobile or this or that? They're just going to say you want Windows 10, right? And
I don't know. I mean, are they?
that would be my guess. Does
this come from the heritage of, in fact, that they never really do care about selling direct to customers? It's really about bundling.
But by the way, what about? So there's no Windows 10 with Bing, right? For example. I mean, there's no starter.
We don't know,
edition.
right? That one we don't know too, because that's an OEM SKU also. Like customers don't buy Windows 10 with Bing, right? It's only something they sell to OEMs, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
People don't buy Windows 10 with Bing. They don't.
Yeah, it's they end up with it.
just happens.
It happens to you like a cyclone or a tornado or something. I don't. I just wish there were more answers. I hate the vagueness of all this.
Right.
There are people out there acting like Windows 10 Mobile is official. Microsoft finally announced it. Yeah, we've known that for months, guys. That's not news. Right. There is some news in here. I mean, the education SKU completely new. The mobile enterprise SKU completely new.
Yep. Although it's weird, Paul. When I saw that education SKU, I Googled it or Binged it, perhaps one or the other, and it exists. It does exist. There's a Windows 8.1 education SKU, which I didn't realize. Again.
Well, that's the point. Is that this exposes stuff that you probably don't ever really need to see.
Okay,
right?
so from the perspective of us, because we cover Microsoft, for example. So you're saying there's a Windows 8.1 education SKU?
There is.
Yeah, really. That's really...
Yep.
Okay. So great. Windows 8.1 for education. Now, clearly, from a functional perspective, this thing has to equate to something. Windows 8.1 Pro, most likely. But not necessarily. We don't know. I mean, because I believe they have they would need management technologies and so forth at a school, in higher education in particular. So that kind of clarity would be nice. Here's a little a graph, perhaps, of major features and where they appear in each product and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's the type of thing I'll have to create for the book and everything. But it would be nice if they provided the basics of it. Right. I just don't understand how they could be so vague when saying something.
How can you be so vague? You're so vague.
Windows 10 for education, what it says is it's going to be covered under academic volume licensing. And it says there will be an upgrade path if you're running Windows 10 Home or Pro to this SKU. But we don't have any details beyond that, what's in it.
I took that to be a BYOD solution for education, similar to what we see in enterprise or in businesses of all sizes. In other words, because you would, as a student, have a computer and you bring it there and they do a little in-pace upgrade. Now you're on their system, And by the way, you probably noticed this too. Microsoft annoyingly recoined BYOD as something like CYOD. They came up with a new name.
Cover your own device?
I think it's carry your own device or something.
Why make up? No, come on.
I know. Just, Yep.
Yeah.
Microsoft.
Yeah, but this does open a lot of doors for new questions. Like somebody's asking on Twitter who's listening, Byron Surveys is saying, what if I BYOD my Windows phone to work? Am I going to need the enterprise mobile SKU? We don't know.
No, no, of course not.
I bet you will.
What?
Well, okay.
No,
here's how I
if you
take
want
that.
the
I don't
additional
think so.
features, you'd buy it, but you don't need to do it.
I mean, today
if you-
Windows Phone has those management features. It's just built in.
Right.
It has all the management
mobile
stuff.
enterprise.
It has secure store. Oh, you know what Android does? Maybe this is it. It has a separate business and personal kind of storage.
I bet it's related more to servicing and the ability of enterprises to schedule certain kinds of updates to certain groups of users on a certain schedule. And that kind of thing where you can choose between Windows Update for Business or WSUS or System Center or Intune is that. That might be related to that kind of thing.
Right. I was thinking that maybe you can't manage it with Intune and Enterprise Mobility Suite unless you have the Enterprise version. And if you're in a workplace that uses that, you would need the Enterprise version then. Maybe that's it.
This is amazing.
We don't know.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's what we know now is the names of the SKUs. We know a few of the features of the SKUs.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Okay.
Pretty much.
That's
right?
good. No, that's good. That's a step.
There'll be
We don't have
more.
a date.
It's our
We don't
daily
have-
dose of confusion, Leo.
Yeah, we don't have a date yet, right? I mean, it's end of July is all we have.
Summer.
Yep.
Summer.
Yeah,
We
they're
don't have-
saying
They didn't even
summer.
say end of July. That's just summer.
No.
Summer.
They're saying that was what one OEM partner of theirs said, but
Oh.
they would not confirm.
So
that.
that was not true. Oh,
I think it's true.
Well,
you got to really keep up on this stuff. I've not been apparently.
They didn't say it wasn't true.
No.
I mean, they
No,
just
they
said,
didn't say.
someone said that, and
It fits with what we've previously announced. Or something.
Yes. They have been saying summer for a
Which
few
is
months
September.
now.
Could be September 20th. We don't know.
somebody in my family sent out a mass message to everyone in my family, and now everyone in my family is responding, and so my phone has been going ding, ding, ding,
Oh, that's fun.
and it's about absolutely nothing important, so it's hilarious. I'm
That's
sorry.
always fun. I've had that happen. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I do that just to grief my family. Actually, I'll add everybody.
It's like I'm going away for a long weekend. I'm going to be offline. Here's a mass tweet, and then I turn off my phone and I leave.
Exactly. It's a form of
Have fun, everybody.
of family griefing.
We'll still be talking about it by the time we get home.
Oh Lord. All right.
Yeah. So that's what we know at this point, which isn't a ton, but it's something.
6 SKUs plus 3 Internet of Things SKUs.
These special versions for Xbox, HoloLens, Surface Hub.
All right, we didn't even put those in there.
Let's talk about the IoT versions. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So there's in the blog post today, they talk specifically about 3 IoT or embedded versions.
Yeah.
There's going to be a Windows 10 Enterprise, a Windows 10 Mobile Enterprise versions of embedded. So that's like what Microsoft has now, right? They have industry embedded, and they have all these different embedded SKUs. So some of these have desktop, some don't, but they're for running all kinds of devices, some with screens, some without, things like handheld terminals and hardened phones for workplace use, ATMs, point of sale terminals. And then they also have this thing they're calling Windows IoT Core for small, Windows IoT Core, and that's for small footprint, low cost devices. That's the one I'm pretty sure that is for the Arduino boards, right?
Yeah, the Arduino. In fact, I spent a good part of today installing. This is my Windows IoT Core boot disk, a little micro SD
Look at that thing.
for Raspberry Pi 2.
That just shows you how tiny it can be.
Yeah, see, it's
tiny.
Internet of Things, tiny things. But it goes into that little system board, and that it doesn't.
It's a micro
The device
SD
itself
card.
doesn't have any kind of disk, so you need something, and this is what they use.
Yeah, the blog post, as Paul just pointed out, doesn't mention some other versions of Windows 10. Like there's going to be Windows 10 on Xbox One. There's going to be Windows 10 inside of the Surface Hub, but those and also inside the HoloLens. But in those cases, it's not something where a consumer would ever buy this version of the operating system. It's already in these devices.
All right.
But yeah, those are other versions of Windows 10, if you really want to get granular about how many versions there are.
Incredible.
Incredible.
It is. Incredible is a great word for this.
I don't.
It is incredible.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and a few people are pointing this out too on Twitter. The reason Microsoft does this is there's a couple reasons. Why do they do something this vague?
It's not for my blood pressure.
It's not. It's not to make my hair grayer.
They're targeting Paul. Let's face it.
It's because they want to trickle the news out, right? Like,
they want to stay in the news cycle.
Yeah, every
look,
couple weeks,
it worked.
here's something else. It did, right?
Top of mind, Microsoft. Top of mind.
Right. And I also believe there's some of these things that maybe they haven't completely ironed out yet in terms of licensing and the way that things like a Windows Update for Business are going to work and not work. And, I'm sure it's going to go down to the wire when they set the pricing and figure out the licensing terms. That's stuff they usually do at the very end.
Right. All right. Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Paul's crying now.
It's just more work for you guys. It's good. This is good. This is.
It is. It gives us stuff to write about.
This is something to write
By the way,
about.
one of the non-stories from a couple of days ago that I don't think we have in the notes, it was somebody tweeted that, Windows Insiders are going to get Windows 10 for free.
Really? I thought I would.
Duh. Everyone's getting it for free. You have to test it on something. I mean, the number of people who have a computer or phone, actually phone is not possible, so let's say a computer that could run Windows something and Windows didn't come on it is negligible. I mean, it's almost non-existent.
Right.
I know there's a couple of them out there, but I mean, obviously. But what version are they going to get for free, right?
Right.
I mean, is it just going to be based on what version of Windows was on there before? Do you get a choice? Do you only get the low-end version, like the home version, let's say, if you have a PC? No idea. Not discussed.
No idea. All right. Let's take a break. And, there's more.
Someday I hope to come on the show and have some definitive statement of fact that I can provide for our audience about something.
Contrast this to Apple, which doesn't manage the news cycle as well. When they get news, they get a lot of it, but then
and then they're gone.
And they're gone. And I think Microsoft is saying, "Look, we want to stay in front of mind at least until we get."
By the way, I do think that's part of it. And why wouldn't they have announced this, say, at Ignite or something, or Build?
At Build.
Part of it is probably related to what you're saying. Keep it in the news.
Dribble it out.
There was already a lot of news that
It's
week.
the Snowden approach to press releases.
Approach. Everything I learned about marketing, I learned from, actually Mark Penn, but after Mark Penn,
and Edward Snowden.
Eric Snowden.
Yeah. Snowden figured it out. No, actually, it wasn't Snowden so much as Glenn Greenwald and company, who realized that you could release it all at once because they had it all at once. Yeah, and it'd be over. I'm thinking, I could think of like a dozen stories. In fact, we really need to start to do, remember when, and nobody's even thought about it since. Remember, for instance, Newsweek announced that some guy in L.A. was Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything since?
No.
No. Apparently, the story was completely wrong. Stupid.
Wow.
Wrong. Have you heard anything since? Not an apology, not an update, nothing. And I could think of a dozen. It happens to us all the time. I got to start making notes. The problem is I'm as, empty-brained as everybody else
Every
is.
time I write any article, I have to search Google for what I wrote before about
What did I say
something.
last
I
time?
have no idea.
Who am I? What am I doing here?
Yeah.
So I just feel like this would be a good thing. Maybe I'm going to start a new show, Circle Back, we'll call it. And
you should put it in a calendar, and every time you see something in the news, put it in on that date.
Yes.
And then every year on that date, you'll get a reminder.
Because companies get away with crap.
Sure.
Because nobody, it's like, oh, yeah. What did you say, though, 6 months ago? Oh, that's 6 months ago. It's so last quarter.
It's like it didn't even happen.
Right. Circle Back. We're going to have
That's
a new
good name,
show.
too.
I like it. I know. I just,
Not as good as Time Cop, but it's good.
Stargate News.
Yep.
Our show today brought to you by a company, and we were talking before the show, and I guess you guys haven't heard about this, but I'm going to get you each your own Blue Apron box.
I'm going to get you.
I'm going to get you, sucker. No, you're going to love this. BlueApron.com. I know you both. I didn't actually. I knew Mary Jo liked to cook. I didn't know Paul was a cook. So that's good. I love to cook.
I'm not a cook. I do cook.
Well, you probably Stephanie makes
can
you
cook.
cook. But wouldn't it be nice if, like, when it's dad? See, I remember when my father cooked. My father would cook once in a while. It would be, it was so disgusting. Home fries and hot dogs. And he would cut up a potato. He would cut up an onion. He would cut up some hot dogs. He put it all in a pan, fry it up, and serve it. It was disgusting. But that was the extent of Dad's cooking capability. He's gotten much better, I might add. Blue Apron is, first of all, the name comes from the blue aprons worn by the apprentice chefs at the world-famous Cordon Bleu restaurant in Paris. Because, in effect, this is what you're going to get to be. It's like working side by side with a great chef. Blue Apron makes cooking delicious meals so easy, so fun. They deliver fresh, ready-to-cook meals right to your door on your schedule. You get to choose the meals you want. The menus change all the time. In fact, you'll never get the same meal twice. Less than $10 a meal. And the ingredients are all fresh. There's nothing frozen. All the box is refrigerated to keep it fresh in transport. But the salmon is fresh. The chicken is fresh. Mary Jo wants vegetarian meals. We'll get her those. And by the way, if it's a bunch of parsley you need, a bunch of parsley comes in the box. So there's no waste. You don't suddenly have a refrigerator full of ingredients you don't know what to do with. And you have just enough to make exactly the right thing. They have a family plan, too, with kid-friendly ingredients so the whole family can eat well. And I think, teaching a kid how to cook is maybe one of the most important things you can do. You don't want them eating at fast food restaurants when they leave home. So go to blueapron.com. We're going to tell you actually how you can get your first 2 meals free. blueapron.com/twit. They have a 2-person plan and they have a family plan. Your box will come as you schedule it. I just love it. Each meal is balanced, healthy, 500 to 700 calories per serving. Shipping is free. Cooking, in every case, is about half an hour. And they have videos online if you have further questions. But those recipe cards they send you have beautifully printed pictures with all the instructions. So even if you're not a cook yet, you will become a cook. I love Blue Apron. Let's see what's on the menu this week. Tofu and red rice stir fry. There you go for Mary Jo. Steamed cod, rice flake crusted hake. Is it hake? Flat iron steaks. That's for you, Mr. Paul Thurrott. With flat iron steaks with ramps, fingerling potatoes, and shaved asparagus salad. And everything comes in the box. And it shows you how to make it. It gives you techniques. And the next time, this is what comes in the box, all fresh. And by the way, the meat is fabulous. The fish is fabulous. And the next time, you'll know exactly how to do it. No more home fries and hot dogs for you. BlueApron.com. By the way, notice they have comments on each recipe, too, so you can see how suggestions, what worked, and so forth. I love this. This is for people who want to cook but don't have the time to go shopping after work. BlueApron.com/twit to get your first 2 meals free. Fresh, delicious, fun. It's really fun. BlueApron.com/twit. Paul and Mary Jo, I feel terrible that we hadn't sent you a Blue Apron box yet, so we'll do that so that you can test it out. We're talking Windows Weekly. Oh, I turned off your sound. I'm sorry. That was so you could talk amongst yourselves. Cough. Eat food.
I've been coughing since I came back from Chicago.
Oh, man. That travel will do it for you, won't it?
Oh, that was a brutal trip, actually. That was a long couple of weeks.
Yeah. You both were saying, oh, my God, but you're done, right?
Yeah.
Yep,
we're done.
Nothing more?
Not till July.
Yay. Thank goodness. Okay, item 2 on the agenda. What if Windows 10 is the last version of Windows? And, your discussion about the SKUs made me think about this, story. How is this going to work if it's the last version of Windows? The implication being that they would just continue to update this forever.
How many times
you go
have we heard
first?
this?
You hear the sigh.
This is the last
We
version
both
of
have a
Windows.
lot to say on this
Yeah.
one.
Well, but
This isn't the last version of Windows.
Okay, there won't be a Windows 11 for one.
You know what? Who knows what this is going to be?
We don't.
I just don't think it matters. There will be more Windows.
Yeah, no, it
There will
doesn't.
be upgrades and updates, and
Yeah.
they may rename things because things change. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, but this whole strategy, even Windows as a service, right, is not really dramatically different from what they were doing before,
Right.
and is sort of to servicing what what they're doing with Xbox One and all that stuff is to One Windows. In other words, it's not a brand new thing. It's just an evolution of what they were already doing. It's nicer a little bit, but not dramatically. And look, if they decide to stick with the Windows name, the Windows 10 name, if they just decide, hey, look, we're just going to say Windows now going forward, whatever. Something like the Xbox One gets monthly system updates, which I think is pretty cool. We know about Patch Tuesday and Surface firmware updates are roughly monthly. If you subscribe to Office 365, the cloud and client components are upgraded on some schedule, depending on which version of Office 365 you have and possibly on your organization. This is nothing new. In previous versions of Windows, service packs would come out, feature packs would come out. They would ship monthly updates or out-of-band updates. Some of them would be functional updates. Some of them would just be bug fixes or security fixes. They did this with Windows Phone. For every single version. When Windows 8.1 came out, they had Windows 8.1 Update 1 and then Update 2, which they didn't call Update 2, which I think is kind of the funny bit of this. And that is that things change when it comes to branding these things. They might have an idea going in about we're going to call these things a certain thing, and we like to name things as things. But those plans change. And so right today we could say, well, Microsoft has no plans for Windows 11. Next April, they might be shipping Windows 11. We don't know what the future holds, but we do know this: there will be more Windows. And this is just clickbait stupidity.
Oh, man.
I don't like
the headlines.
This kind of stuff.
The headlines got crazy too as the week went on.
Stupid.
So we should say where this started from. So Microsoft
yes,
developer.
Let's point some fingers.
No, but it's funny. So Paul and I had both heard, I think a year ago, that Microsoft was thinking about making this, quote, the last version of Windows. We've both written about this before. That was
this doesn't sound new to me.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not.
But then at Ignite, Microsoft developer evangelist guy named Jerry Nixon, who's a great guy. I know him just through Twitter, but he's a really smart, good guy. He just threw that out there in a session, and he said, you know what? This is going to be the last version of Windows.
What was the session about, by the way?
It was not even about this. It was about tiles, notifications, and Action Center, right?
Which I just want to
a
highlight is
comment.
exactly where Microsoft would make an announcement of this import.
Right. And
It's
poor
exactly
Jerry
where they would
Nixon wouldn't be the guy doing it either. It's like, if they really wanted to say this was the last version of Windows, it would be Terry Myerson saying this, or it would be Satya Nadella.
Is Jerry going to get in trouble for this?
He's still there. I saw him tweet yesterday. He's still employed. But you know what? He didn't say anything out of school to me. No. He was just saying what is basically the case. It's like this at least for now is the last major version of Windows. But people just went wild. The headlines just got insane.
You know
Did you see some of them?
It's really a marketing thing. Remember, why did they skip Windows 9 to go to Windows 10?
Right.
Why are they talking about free updates for Windows 10 for 1 year? Right. Get in quick. Get in this thing quick. Mm-hmm. They really want people to think of why one Windows, right? They want people to think that this is something completely new and different. It's big. If you're on Windows 7, you're way behind. They really want people to embrace this. And even that casual throwing out is a way to kind of say, in that case, to developers, this is the big one. That's really what they're doing. It's really just marketing. It's just marketing.
It is. But then people who didn't understand that and started writing headlines in other places. Yesterday, I saw Microsoft halting all work on Windows.
Oh, no, that's not obviously, that's not true.
Dun,
no.
dun, dun, dun.
I know. And then you're like, oh, this thing has spiraled out of control, right? It's just Microsoft making a branding decision at this point. That's what it is.
Right.
The other one that went hand in hand with this, I don't know if Paul saw this one happening too, was Microsoft kills Patch Tuesday. That was another headline last week.
That's amazing.
And the thinking was, I saw and once that started, it steamrolled too. But it was, okay, so now Microsoft's doing this Windows as a service idea. So that means no more Patch Tuesday, right? Like that idea is gone. And Microsoft just confirmed
we just literally just start slipping little updates out every 10 seconds whenever they're finished.
Right.
That's how it works.
No. So, I mean, I didn't think they were killing Patch Tuesday, especially when they announced Windows Update for Business. That whole idea is give IT control about when they roll out the patches. They can continue to use Windows Server update services. They can use System Center. They can use whatever they want to kind of control that. And so I asked just to get a comment, and they said, if you opt to be on a certain branch as part of Windows Update for Business, you will still get these updates on the second Tuesday of the month, which is Patch Tuesday. So no, Patch Tuesday is not dead either. Windows is not being halted. Patch Tuesday is not dead.
I really gotta wonder where people get this stuff.
They don't understand. They see headlines.
Right.
I know. They see headlines. Instead of trying to understand, they just go, "Oh, I guess Patch Tuesday's dead." Yep.
Right.
There's also kind of a little bit of, kind of a coy bit of baloney. Like I think a lot of the people writing this stuff know exactly what's happening, but they're really shooting for the headline thing.
It's link bait.
And I just can't stand that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too bad.
It is too bad.
Yeah.
So
because it gets people panicked. That's the worst part.
When they say this, it's as you have said. There's some truth to the notion that maybe nothing's true.
Again, this is just this is just what they've really been doing. In other words, Microsoft responded with a statement when asked about this thing that Jerry Nixon said, right? And they said, let me find it. That this is just an extension of this Windows as a service. This is what we've been talking about.
Right.
Windows will be delivered as a service, bringing new innovations and updates in an ongoing manner, with continuous value for our customers. That is not really any different from what they've been doing since day one.
And it kind of implies that you should pay a subscription. Is that the point?
No, by the way, that's a no. And that's
another wrong one.
Well, but it's a common misconception. In fact,
it is.
We've kind of blown through my coming tip already, but another part of that is, when Microsoft talks about Windows 10 being free for the first year, a lot of people heard that as, okay, so for 1 year, I'm going to get it for free. And then after that, I start paying a subscription fee, right? That's how that's going to work, because it's going to be like Windows 365. And the answer is no, that's actually not what they meant. And I think I don't want to speak for Mary Jo, but I think when her and I both heard that at that event in Redmond, we both took it the right way, that this is a special offer for 1 year and it will be free. And then after that, if you want to upgrade, a computer you haven't upgraded previously, you would then have to pay for the upgrade. Not that there would be ongoing subscription fees for Windows, but a lot of people took it that way. Right.
And in fact, Microsoft has said multiple times since they announced that this is not Windows 365. It's going to be, you're going to get updates for the supported lifetime of the device, which is something we don't know exactly what that means, but it does not mean after the 1 year you start paying a subscription fee. They've denied that flat out.
To be clear, though, because they can't be, there are still questions around this. So, for example, I have a Windows 7 PC that I've upgraded for free to Windows 10, and then maybe 2 years goes by. And what I want to do now is do a clean install of Windows 10.
Right.
Am I going to be able to do that? At that point, do I have to pay for it? Did they give me something that will let me do that, like an ISO file? And if so, will it understand that this computer was, in fact, already upgraded and I don't need to worry about product keys and stuff like that? We have no idea. And, this is why people like us have a job, of course, because we're, we'll spend much of the next year figuring this out and explaining it. But
but what we do know in the case you just described is if they do have to pay for the upgrade, you're not going to pay for updates, right? That part we do know. Right. And that's what people are confusing.
There's no
people
option where you pay $30 a year or something.
No. You know what? Everybody is looking for the loophole. And I have to admit, I have been too, because nobody can believe Microsoft is going to do this for free. They're like, okay, but where's the catch here?
There's a catch,
right? Like,
well, it could have something to do with your soul. It could be that the issue you raised briefly earlier, because there was language. Remember when they first announced this, that you will allow us to keep your computer up to date.
Yes.
Part of this agreement, it may literally be a pact, not with the devil, but with Microsoft, where you let them update the machine. A lot of people like to go into Windows Update and say, I don't think so,
Yeah, I'm almost 100% sure, yes, on that.
I think that, at the time, that's what they said. They said that to us, that was the case.
So, if you get this 1 year free deal, part of the reason they want to give you this deal is so you will have to take every feature update they give you and every security fix and other kind of fix. They are just going to push that to you, and you are not going to be able to say no.
Okay, this is important then. So there is a price, but I mean, not that that's a bad price, but there is.
No.
There is. If you bought it, you wouldn't have to do
Again,
that.
but I would argue that for most people, this is still just an evolution of the way things were already.
Me
And
too.
it's really the way things are on a phone. You know, if you think about even like an iPhone, it doesn't have to be a Microsoft phone. Some software update comes out. I mean, you can sort of say no for a little while, but eventually, you know, you got to upgrade the thing. You can't just let it sit there. And apps are updating every day on every phone platform. That happens every single day. And a lot of the updates that Microsoft will provide to Windows 10 will come in the form of these app updates, right? Because there are certain things, you know, it comes with a certain number of apps, and they can update the system in that sense as well. Whereas in the past, you know, built like Windows Mail and Windows Vista was part of the core OS. It didn't really get updated, probably ever. I mean, if it did, very rarely. Whereas the current Mail app, whatever it's called, Outlook Mail now, whatever, that can be updated and will be updated regularly.
Yep.
One window.
And then if you go Windows Update for Business, that's when you start having more control, right?
And so
if,
that makes sense because business people want, or you know, enterprise IT wants to control the space and they want to vet this stuff. But a home user wants the updates. I tell everybody to update when there's an update.
I really do. I do think that on the mobile side, that's where the enterprise SKU comes in. I think that's required for Windows Update for Business. On the PC side, it's just Windows Pro or higher.
Right.
But you can enroll those computers into the system and control the updates centrally based on who they are, what group they're in, or whatever your policy may be.
Yep. Now, the one place I bet there'll be the loophole or the catch is if you're somebody who doesn't want any new features and you have some mission critical devices you need to lock down and you only want them to get security updates, I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the only way you can do that is being on the enterprise SKU.
Interesting.
I believe. But again, they haven't really said that as plainly as I just did.
And their interest in this is what? Is to have a ecosystem of 1 billion users
that are all on the same
that are
page.
all on the same exact
and this
version of Windows.
It's not just security updates, although that's super important. It's also functional level. It's really hard. Even if you go to windows.com right now and scroll to the bottom of the page, you'll see there's a lot of Windows versions that are still supported, and a lot of Windows-related products that they have to talk about, Internet Explorer, et cetera, all of which have multiple versions themselves.
Right.
And keeping all of this stuff up to date, security updates is a big deal. A flaw in Internet Explorer that affects every version going back to 2003, it's complicated. There's several versions that run on different platforms. It's really complicated. And that's one aspect of it. But it's also that we're all in the same functional experience. You know, when somebody calls Microsoft support and says, I'm using your mail app and I can't
They know what
forward
version
anything,
you're using. Yeah.
you don't have to worry about it anymore. It just becomes we're all
Everybody's
on the
using
same
Edge.
thing.
Everybody's got the same version of Edge.
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, that's what normal users would want.
So you just said the word normal, and you're right. But the people who do have a problem with that aren't necessarily normal, and I don't mean that in
No, they're enterprise. They're
I'm talking about individuals because there are some people who really want to micromanage.
Well, stop it.
This kind of experience. And,
you don't get anything for free, then.
Sure.
Well,
sure.
I think some of those people who want to do that are people who've been burned by bad patches, and they want to say, well, I want to look at what they're patching and I want to compare it against what I know. Right. So
that's fair.
I think that's
these are the people. This is the same person who balances his own checkbook because he doesn't trust the bank's computer. I understand there are people like that, and probably a preponderance of them are in our audience because that's these are people who care enough.
Highly technical. They want to defrag the disk themselves. They want to make sure it happens. They want to watch it happen.
I don't diss them.
But
for the vast majority, and obviously Microsoft wants this to be 1.5 billion people. Doing what you should, just going along with a program is a good idea, both for you and Microsoft, right?
Right.
Yes, I would. Yes.
In theory,
and
it is.
Right. It's not just self-serving on Microsoft's part. It really is. I mean, it is partially self-serving, but it is also truly better for everyone. For this kind of system. And I think this is the one thing you can see it so dramatically. Well, I was going to say you can see it so dramatically in mobile devices, but actually you can see it in PCs as well. Like I said, all those versions of IE being the typical example. What a mess,
Yeah.
And so they're trying to get rid of that.
Yeah. I mean, Microsoft has to make websites to tell people, upgrade your Internet Explorer, please. We beg of you. And that is
the
the
site
right
does
thing
not
to do.
work well on our own browser. Please upgrade.
It's a public, I think it's a public health model of computing.
Yeah.
An epidemiological model.
I know.
Where
It's like those people who don't want to get their kids inoculated, and then they send them to school, and they get everyone else sick because I mean, it's a form of ignorance in a way, but there is a real public benefit to keeping everyone.
I won't say it's ignorance. I'll presume goodwill, intelligence on the part of the people who want to do their own thing. And Microsoft's going to let them. They're going to let them do their own thing, right? But if you want to take advantage of free Windows, is that the carrot?
I think the basis of a law maybe would be something like, look, you can do what you want on your own, but when it starts impacting other people, we need to have rules.
Right. Yeah. There's a societal interest in having everybody have patched Windows and not use Internet Explorer 6.
Really strange topic here, but yes, I mean, as far as PCs go and security updates certainly, but functional updates too. I mean, I think there is a general benefit to that is not just Microsoft benefit.
There is a cost to supporting legacy code.
Definitely. Yeah.
For everybody. If you're Google and you're doing Gmail and you want it to work with Outlook, it's nice to know everybody's using the same version of Outlook.
Well, put another way, if you're Gmail, you update it once and it updates everyone at the same time. You don't have to think about it. No one's on Gmail from 2007. This is the problem that Microsoft has with Windows. And that's what they're trying to solve. They can't completely solve it, but they want to get as close as that. Jeez.
There's a cat in here.
Oh, it's a cat. Thank God.
Looks like a skunk. Is this our cat?
I think so.
Oh, my God. We just got a cat.
Baby girl.
A baby girl. Girls are good. I like girls.
This is the man you'll be disdaining for the rest of your life.
Yes, this is the person you will look to only for food.
Yep.
That's the funniest thing. We were just talking about that.
Yeah.
Cute. That's a cute little black kitty with white paws. Lisa does this to me, by the way. When I'm on the air with a show, that's when she says, it's okay if I buy a new car, right? Okay. It's okay if we have a cat.
It's only a cat, Leo.
Just a cat. Right. No.
Actually,
it's going to last longer than the car. But we're hearing the chat room's giving us lots of reasons why you wouldn't want to upgrade. My son, Specs says my son's college wanted him not to update his PC with Windows Update because it would break their online software. There's people using ActiveX controls. Edge doesn't have ActiveX. Yeah. Hospitals, of course, don't want to upgrade Windows because they're using Windows 2000.
Okay, but the two organizations you mentioned so far are managed enterprises.
Right.
And they would have their own policies in place.
Yes. But the home user...
in which case you could say... Everyone moving to Windows 10 makes plenty of sense because then they could get enrolled into these policies and be up to date according to the rules of that organization.
Right. So, yeah, it's not just the Unabomber though, right? There are people.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Although,
but you figure he'd be one of them, right?
Many years ago, I won't name names here per se, but I was writing a book about some version of Windows with someone, and it was kind of one of these kind of back and forths where it was like, we're on the same page about things, and so this is going to be like this, and this is going to be like this. Yep, and we got to the part about security updates, and he said, and obviously the blanket advice for security updates is turn off Windows Update so that nothing ever gets updated.
What?
And that you manually, control. And I was like, whoa. What? No, absolutely not. I mean, I thought that was just the most insane thing, but that was where this person was coming from. And those, there were smart people who they really want to micromanage things. Right. And I don't know. I think we got to get past that.
Yeah.
I get that things go wrong. But
has there been a bad one lately?
Well, as Mary Jo could probably explain better than I, the last year and a half or so has been a bad one for security updates or Patch Tuesday updates that haven't done well, right? I don't think any of them have necessarily caused like huge amounts of data loss or whatever, but it does seem like in the time, especially in the time since the layoffs, right, that there's been a quality issue there with updates. Yeah.
Well, Microsoft's got to do a carrot and a stick.
Yeah.
They got the carrot. I guess they need 2 carrots, really. They don't need a stick.
Well, what they need is chocolate cake because nobody wants the carrot. And right now it is a carrot, and people are kind of looking at it like, I don't know if I want to go for that.
It puts the burden on them to get this stuff right if you're going to make people do it.
Well, they're arguing, although this is going to sound like guinea pig stuff, but they're arguing that people who are in the insider rings are helping them iron out some of the kinks in these Windows patches because they're testing stuff and then Microsoft's releasing it later to the average customers, right? So if you're in the fast ring or if they end up doing this ludicrous ring that they have talked about where you get this stuff really fast.
Guaranteed the patches won't work.
You're going to have a lot of bugs and problems, right? And
by the way, I think you should know what you're getting into there, right? I don't have a problem with that.
No,
I'd rather have fast and buggy than slow and
and so that's in a way that's a great way to handle this for Microsoft. So what you're saying is this insider stuff is going to continue after the release of Windows 10. Yeah,
it is.
That's great.
Right.
By the way, if that's what it becomes, basically beta testing updates.
That's what it is, right? Yeah, and then they test it. If you're in the slow ring, you don't get these patches right when they're right out of the gate, and they'll already have been tested by millions of people. And their theory is that's going to improve the quality of the patches.
And there are people like you and me who are sophisticated users and maybe want to be for altruistic reasons, or just because we want to be on the bleeding edge, want to get on those inside rings, the fast rings, and that's great. And you know what? I would like to do that. I'd love to be, a bug tester.
And sometimes maybe you get burned a couple of times. Maybe you go back to a slower ring or whatever.
And
but
don't use it on your production machine. That's all.
Or do and just understand that this bad stuff can happen.
Yeah.
I think if you're like me, you don't want to be that group of people.
Right. See you in 3 years. Let me know how this goes.
It's like I want to make like a team tech guy or a team twit of people who are on the bleeding edge, who use the new chat software or use the new website. And I think there's because
some people
a reward
gravitate
for that.
toward that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because you're an insider.
Like Mary Jo just demonstrated. No.
But that's why the name Windows Insider is exactly right. That's actually smart because that's who those people are. They want to feel like an insider. And Mary Jo, it's not worth it to you.
No. I don't need stuff. I can wait a few weeks.
Yeah.
I'm not in that much.
I go back and forth on this one because sometimes I really get bored of the production stuff, and sometimes it's like I really just need this to work.
I love the new stuff. I always want the next. Who doesn't hit update on their phone every 5 minutes? Is it new? Is it new?
On an AT&T Android phone, it won't let you do that. It says you can check again in 15 minutes.
Oh, that's annoying. No.
Like, seriously?
Don't tell us that. just pretend you're checking.
Yep.
You don't have to tell us. We just want to do it.
I know.
And for the rest of you, get an iPhone. Seriously, get an iPhone. There's no point in hitting.
By the way, get an iPhone and join the Apple beta program for $99 a year, and get regular updates throughout the year.
Oh, I guess you still can do it, huh?
Yeah. You can do that. Yeah. If you want to really live on the edge.
Yep. I think
you
this is
run
fun.
8.4 right now.
Yeah, that's true. You can. Yeah, you have to pay, and you have to be.
Yeah, that's right.
You're a developer and all of that.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's talk about Edge. Have we done that yet?
No, we have not. Speaking of Edge, living on the
I'm
edge.
intrigued. So ActiveX is out.
Yes.
We knew that, though.
Right. We figured that.
That'd be crazy to continue that.
Yeah. So Microsoft released last week, I think, the list of what they're cutting out of the Edge browser. ActiveX, VB Script, not surprising.
My two favorite technologies of all time, too.
Well, but there are a lot of intranets.
I wrote books about this stuff.
Yeah, and there are a lot of IT departments who need it.
Use it. Right. Yeah. Silverlight was not listed on this list of things, Silverlight plugins, but I believe those are on that list as well.
They got to be, right?
Although
Windows
then people
Media Center.
They
didn't even bother to put that on the list.
No. This is all just stuff cutting out of the browser. They said 220,000 lines of code have been cut in their rendering engine, MS-HTML.
Wow. How many lines of code is
That is a good question. I do not know.
Google did that. That's why they forked WebKit to make Blink, and what they took out was all the legacy support.
Yep.
And it turned out to be millions of lines of code. It was a huge amount of the code was just legacy support.
Well, Microsoft did this too, right? They forked MS-HTML, the rendering engine, which is Trident, and then they created this Edge rendering engine. So that's also a very distant fork of Trident, but still a fork.
Right. Clean it up. Time to clean it up.
Yep. But then they also published a list of what is coming to Edge that was also interesting. They had things like Object RTC, pointer lock, more Cortana scenarios, and they mentioned officially extensions. They've said this a couple times that they're going to support extensions in Edge, not right when it ships originally, but it will be coming. And they also said they already know they're going to have extensions for Skype, Reddit, and Pinterest. So they're already working with developers on extensions, obviously, if they can name names. So yeah, they're doing a lot of work. They've got a nice new blog. What is the name of this blog? I forget. Do you remember, Paul?
The
this new
Edge of
The Edge
Night.
blog? I actually don't know. About
Yeah,
the
they
Edge
have
blog.
this new blog, Edge Dev blog, Microsoft's Edge Dev blog. And this is where they talk about the stuff they're doing from a more of a developer perspective. But they've been doing a lot of really good posts now that Edge is more public about what they're doing under the covers with the browser. Pretty interesting if you're a developer.
By the way, if you search for Edge blog,
Yeah.
you're not going to find this blog.
No,
No.
search for Edge Dev blog. That's what you to search for.
There's a lot of stuff out there. It has nothing to do with it.
So if you care about this is a good place because this is where they announce
Yep.
what's going on.
Yeah.
Good. They're going to do ECMA 6, ECMAScript 6. That's the latest, newest Java. This is good. Vorlon.js.
Yep.
It's great stuff.
I think they were one of the enemies in the Star Trek TV series.
Vorlon. Wow.
Yeah. Vorlon is this new debugger that they've built for JavaScript. Microsoft built this, and it's built on top of TypeScript. So yeah, they're doing a lot of really kind of, I guess, stuff I would say that people in the developer community maybe never thought they would do. But it's a new Microsoft, guys. We say that a lot on the show. It's a new Microsoft.
It's a new
Yeah.
one. It's one.
I don't know if we have anything else on Edge. Do you? Oh, you mentioned, I didn't understand this post that well, but maybe you do. Media capture functionality being integrated into directly into Edge. That was an announcement today, I think.
When they say media capture, they mean like I can go to YouTube
I
and
didn't take it
download
to
a
mean
video?
that.
No.
I didn't really look at this too closely, but I thought this was related to the ability of a website to protect digital content from. It's the first announcement on that blog. If you
Let's read more, shall we?
yes, let's read it online.
Yeah, why not do a show? Well, here, I'll just read it out loud and you guys can tell me. what
Yeah,
it
and then
means.
we'll sort of figure it out as
Yes,
you go.
the media
say, what is
capture
it?
functionality in Microsoft Edge. It's based on the W3C media capture and stream spec. Facebook does it, so it gives you. It sounds like maybe the instant play video on Facebook. Get user media method. Call takes media stream constraints as an input, which divides. Yeah, I don't think. Oh no, capture devices and captured media streams, such as camera facing mode, video resolution. So this has to do with using a camera, a webcam. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
They're definitely, this is an understatement.
Photo capture using a webcam. So the ability to, for instance, use your webcam to add a photo to your Facebook, that kind of thing. Capture device settings. Yeah, it's not the other way around, saving video from a website.
Yeah.
It's for
web.
Flash does this, right? I mean, right now, if you want to capture it, you would use Flash. Google does it with WebRTC and Hangouts. It'll ask permission. It'll say allow your camera to be accessed by the website, and you say yes, and then so this is good.
Yeah.
And this is based on the spec, which is what you want. W3C spec.
I was going to say that's the thing. More and more, you see Microsoft doing things with the standards community, leading the standards. Even it's just a very different place because in the old world, of course, IE was known as the enemy of the standards.
So
right?
the blog
Leading
post
the
gives
standards.
two examples, which is capturing a photo from a built-in camera, capturing audio from a microphone. So it's very much what Flash does right now, or something like that. Recording things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Media capture in Microsoft Edge. I mean, are you guys using? Well, I know you're not, Mary Jo, but are you using
I'm not
Edge?
using it.
Yeah, and do you like
In
it, Paul?
Windows 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I mean, switching to something like Edge is a little complex because it's, I don't have Windows 10 full time on anything, right? So if I use it in phone or the PC and vice versa, there'll be some nice synchronicity there at some point. But I think I will use it. I mean, once Windows 10 becomes a little more stable and usable. But I still use a mix of browsers, so I'm using it in Windows 10. Yeah, I like it. The only thing I don't like about Edge is the problem I have with Windows apps in general, which is that there's not a lot of contrast in the UI. And so you do things like select the address bar, which is in kind of a sea of very light gray, and it doesn't highlight in a very visual way. It's hard to know that you've even done it. And I wish they would add some color. I mean, something as simple as just having all the little icons, they're not even icons, but the little glyphs or whatever they have for the browser controls in Edge, just be colored would be nice, just to add some contrast to the UI. But it seems to render web pages very well, if you get beyond that. It doesn't have some stuff I like from IE, including the ability to pin websites to the taskbar.
But the annotation's cool. I'm sure they'll have pinning. Cool. That's not I can't imagine they won't turn that on. So here's a question for you.
Yep.
Given that Windows 10 is going to be an upgrade for almost everybody who buys a computer right now, unless you buy an enterprise, I have been pointing out, previously I believed the end of July rumor, but I have been telling radio callers, for instance, it might be worth waiting till Windows 10 comes out because a Windows 10 PC might have, for instance, this Microsoft Hello camera. So there might be some hardware. Is the camera one of the few things that would make you wait for a Windows 10 specific PC?
There might be new processors too, right? At that time.
Well, that's always, you always wait for that, right?
For Continuum and so forth.
Yeah.
I mean, I installed Windows 10 on a ThinkPad that has a fingerprint login. Yeah. And that fingerprint login already works in Windows 10 natively using the Windows 10 UI. You don't have to load Lenovo apps or anything. That's great. It just works. And so it's not quite as simple as just walking up and being in front of the computer, but you open the lid and you swipe your finger and you're in. It's really quick.
It might work better with a newer Windows 10 specific computer using Microsoft Hello for other biometrics.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to figure out what my advice should be to people who say, should I buy a computer now knowing I'll get Windows 10 in a few months, or should I wait?
The way I would frame this is, if you were somehow able to, Microsoft probably has data about this, but if you were able to pull Windows 8.1 users on whatever device, it doesn't matter, PCs, laptops, Ultrabooks, tablets, they log in, hopefully they log in, and hopefully they have a Microsoft account with a password and all that kind of stuff, and that's how they log in. Do they log in that way, though, manually typing that password every single time, or do they use a PIN, right? And a PIN is a much easier way to log into a device. I guess it's a little bit less secure, but it's much easier than typing a password, especially.
No, I use the PIN because I don't want to. My Microsoft password
so you know
is
that
too long.
When you go from a password to a PIN, you miss it. Like when I pick up a MacBook, and I have to log into my account there. There's no PIN. You have to type in a password and hit enter. It's another level of difficulty.
Right.
But on the other hand, if you could if you have an iPhone, that you can press your thumb to that thing and you log in that way, and it's wonderful. It's even easier than typing a PIN. And you kind of miss that when it's not available. You especially miss it on the iPhone if you reboot and the first time you actually have to type the PIN. And that becomes aggravating.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of a convenience. I don't think it's a necessity. I think people are still typing long passwords, but when you go from password to PIN to thumbprint swipe to a camera login, when it just sees your face and it just happens. I think those are all levels of convenience, not necessarily necessity. And so I think you're safe buying a Windows computer today. People who want to live on the edge and want the next best thing, they might want to wait, but it's like anything else. Whether you're buying a new car, maybe they switched models and the new one has some neat new features like a backup camera or something. It depends on how important that stuff is to you. I actually don't think it's crucial. I just think it's convenience.
So it doesn't. Yes. All right. That's good to know. It's not going to be the Microsoft Hello is the only hardware specific feature I could think of.
Is there stuff that's going to be? What do they call that new trackpad support that they have been promising forever?
Trackpad?
Precision trackpad.
What's that? That
makes the trackpad actually work.
Actually work.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
that makes it work well, I should say.
Right. I mean, they have it on Surface.
Yeah.
But of course, when you're on Surface, which is a touch device primarily, I tend to turn off a lot of the swiping capabilities anyway, right? And so and of course, in Windows 10, a lot of the edge swipes are different now, and so that stuff's all changing. I don't know. I mean, I guess I'd argue that's still a convenience, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we probably will see more precision trackpads in this generation of hardware than we did before. Because I can't think of one off the top of my head, but people have told me that there are at least a couple of non-Microsoft precision trackpads out there in the world already. I mean, Windows 8.1 or whatever.
All right. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of super compelling technology that's.
Yeah, I think the basics are all there. It's obviously multi-touch and the multi-input type stuff. Keyboard, mouse, trackpad, nubbin, touch screens, and any combination of those things per device, depending on the device. I mean, the basics are all kind of still there.
Yeah.
Or already there, I should say.
All right. Just asking. Useful information for me.
Yeah, people ask us this a lot too.
Yeah.
Should I get
wait?
a new device now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and Microsoft really.
It's a tough question.
But they made this. I mean, it's always a question. I mean, it's never.
Well, I mean, do you need a computer right now? I mean, if you do, this conversation is.
But Microsoft really forced the question by offering guaranteeing free upgrades to Windows 7 8 users. So that might be that's the obvious reason to wait is I'll wait till Windows 10 comes out and get a computer so I get Windows 10 with it. But that's gone. So now it's what else? Is there anything else I should be thinking about and waiting for? I guess the answer is probably not. If you need a computer now, get it. If you can hold off, and it's always that same old answer which you gave, Mary Jo. You will get, there'll be faster processors, better screens, all that stuff.
Yep. There's never the perfect time to jump in and buy a new PC.
Yeah, that's always
because there's always something just around the corner that's better.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's like the Simpsons episode where he buys the whatever computer and he's driving down the street and sees the billboard for the new version.
Yeah.
That's always the case. Hey, let's take a break. Mary Jo, Paul, we're talking Windows as always every Wednesday morning, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. We talk Windows with two of the best Windows journalists in the biz. I mean, if Paul and Mary Jo don't know about it, nobody does. Our show today brought to you by Prosper.com. Wow, now more than 250,000 people have used Prosper, borrowing $3 billion. Prosper is a peer-to-peer lending marketplace. So it's the modern internet version, I guess, of a bank, bringing people who have money to lend together with people who want to borrow money. Frankly, borrowing money is always, it's one of those things you never want to do, right? And going to friends or family, that's a bad idea. Credit card companies, that's the worst. The loan rates are just appalling. Bank loans, you got to go hat in hand. It's kind of humiliating. Prosper makes it simple, makes it easy, painless. It's well regulated. The rates are great. You can borrow up to $35,000 in as few as 5 days and use the money for just about anything. Pay off high rate credit cards, fix up the house, put it into your business. I love Prosper. It is a great way to, if you just want one thing, if you look at what your interest rate, go to Prosper.com right now, Prosper.com/twit. With just a few clicks of the mouse, not a huge amount of personal data, and it, by the way, won't affect your credit score. You can get a quote, how much you could borrow, what the interest rate would be. Now, compare it to what you're paying on your credit card. And if you're carrying a balance on your credit card, I guarantee you, this is the first thing you should do is borrow some money, and you'll just take that interest rate down from double digits to single digits in most cases like that. And it's huge. The amount of money you'll save every month is huge. So if nothing else, go to Prosper.com/twit and get a quote. As much as $35,000 in as few as 5 days. Oh, and did I mention we'll give you a $50 Visa gift card? Just when you get your loan, just as a thank you. Prosper.com/twit. A $50 Visa gift card with your low-interest loan, fixed rates, up to $35,000 in as few as 5 days. Prosper.com. We thank him so much for making Windows Weekly possible with Paul, Mary Jo, the gang. It was so fun when you guys were here after Build, because I felt like we kind of became partners with the Windows community, the podcast community.
Sure.
Peter Bright, of course, has been on before. The great guys at .NET Rocks, Carl and is it Richard? Robert?
Richard?
Yep. I always call him Robert for some reason.
I know.
It was just really fun.
I was able to repeat the whiskey event in Chicago with Richard.
Oh, fun.
It was a long night.
He said, Richard said, drink, what was it, the Angels something. He said, it's a bourbon he brought. He said, that's the one you're going to like, and I have saved it. Hey, some really good news. The reason I bring this up, perhaps you heard at the beginning of the show, we have replaced what was a great theme for many years. How many years have we done this show?
Oh, so this is going to be the one.
This is the one. 412 episodes, which is something like 8 years, almost exactly 8 years, in fact. We were using Derek's great music, but it's nice to change it. And Carl Franklin is an amazing musician, and he gave us a new theme that is, according to Paul's specs, kind of a how did you describe it, Paul?
It reminds me of that. It's like a Sammy Hagar song. It's sort of like Mas Tequila or something. It's like one of those kind of rock chant kind of songs. I like it a lot.
I do. Let me play just a little bit of it so you can. You heard it at the beginning of the show, I guess. But Alex Gumpel says he sent me a copy. This is from. It's called Adrenaline, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice.
I like the. Hey. It's so good. So Carl Franklin, thank you. .NET Rocks, he gave it to us free of charge. He's a great musician, but you should buy his stuff. I love the organ. And these are real instruments, right? Carl plays the guitar. He plays the keyboards.
Yeah, it's a real deal.
He's a talented guy.
It's not a garage band already.
I wonder who the Hayes are. Is that him, you think?
Or his brother, maybe. Plays with
Oi. I want to hear oi.
Yep.
Oi.
That's the version for the UK.
I love it. All right. So the new Windows Weekly theme. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, .NET Rocks. Everybody should listen. A little more fun in your Windows Weekly every week. Let's see. Did we talk about security in Edge at all? Do you want to still address that?
No.
I see that. No. Let's talk OneDrive then, because we use OneDrive.
We don't care about security, Leo.
No, the hell with security. I want to live. I want to be the James Dean of the internet.
Yeah, let's talk about OneDrive.
All right.
Yep.
A hot topic.
We use that a lot. OneDrive and Surface Pros, or Surface in general, is made for OneDrive. They're almost like OneDrive machines.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Paul says, that's an interesting point of view, Pete Leo. I don't know where you got that.
You believe that,
idea.
do you, sir?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, at Ignite in Chicago, Microsoft did a session about the future of OneDrive. And in that session, they reiterated some of the things they had talked about before.
I think Terry Meyerson's on line one, Ms. Foley.
I know. My phone is ringing. Okay. They reiterated some of the things that they had said a little more vaguely before about how they plan to bring together OneDrive Consumer and OneDrive for Business and sync them up. But they actually had a roadmap slide up in Ignite where they got a lot more detailed about what's coming when with this big merger plan. So some of the things that are on that roadmap slide, they talked about adding a new mobile PDF capability for Android and iOS versions of OneDrive. They're adding a save to OneDrive for business and also Outlook Web Access feature for OneDrive. So they're adding all these incremental features to make OneDrive for Business and OneDrive Consumer look and feel more alike. But the big thing that everybody's waiting for is this coming shared OneDrive Consumer, OneDrive for Business sync client. And we're supposed to see a preview of that sync client in Q3 at some point. That's going to be for Windows and for Mac. And then in Q4, they actually expect to make that sync client generally available for Windows and Mac. What else? A Windows 10 Universal OneDrive app is coming that'll support both OneDrive Consumer and OneDrive for Business. So they have a whole bunch of things that they're going to be doing before the end of this year. They also talked, and Paul can probably talk more about this, about a feature there that is about bringing your files offline. And I think, if I recall, Paul was wondering if this might be what they're doing as a replacement for placeholders, because as you know, they're deprecating that, and a lot of people are very upset about that whole taking away of the placeholder stuff. But I asked them that, and they said that has nothing to do with that this is not the replacement for placeholders, but still being able to do this selective sync where you determine which folders you want to take offline, and you can specify that. That's coming as well as part of this whole roadmap. A lot of goodness, a lot of OneDrive goodness.
Here's my. It was a little hard to understand, but my understanding of how they're going to handle the offline folders part is, you'll see this in mobile apps, right? And so when you're on a mobile app, you'll see the stuff that's only in the cloud. And for Windows 10, what that means is they're going to ship a universal app similar to the OneDrive app we've had for a long time. In Windows 8, that will handle both OneDrive and OneDrive for Business. And it will show you the folders and things that are offline, whereas when you're in the shell, you can only see the things that are, reversing terms, I guess. You'll see only the terms that you've synced to your PC, the files and folders. So hopefully what the universal app will have is the ability to navigate around what's only in the cloud. So I guess those are online, not offline, sorry. And right-click on something and say sync. Right? And then it would appear in the file system. It's not perfect, but it would at least give you a place on the PC to do this. Because the way it works now, if you have Windows 7 or Windows 8.0 or the Mac or Windows 10 actually, is you can only see your full allotment of folders in OneDrive, and it's only OneDrive Consumer, I should say. When you go into the, you kind of right-click on the little icon and you go to OneDrive storage, and actually that's not the right thing. You go to, I'm in the wrong OS version, so I can't see what it is. But you can basically choose which folders to sync, and it's a terrible interface. It's like a stupid little window where you can kind of expand and contract folder structures, and what they need is something where you can see it in a nice interface, at the very least. And I think that will do that. And I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I believe that universal app is the fourth quarter of this year or something.
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. I'm trying to, I guess opening mine wouldn't help. I'm on a Mac.
Well, it's the same on the Mac. And so on the Mac,
it just is crappy.
What you have is you have the ability, it's a choose folders interface. And so if you go into settings or whatever,
no, it's not
you have
great.
Choose folders. And in Windows 8.1, which is what the system I have here, this is where you have placeholders, which is wonderful because I can go into my OneDrive folder in File Explorer and I can see everything regardless of whether it's online or offline.
That's the way you want it.
It's so awesome.
It'll never be that way on the Mac, though. I mean, that makes sense on Windows.
Well, it does. So the system that's on the Mac is what they're doing everywhere going forward. So Windows 10 will be like the Mac.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Which is irritating.
Yeah, really. We don't want to dumb it down. Isn't the best experience supposed to be on Windows? Come on.
Oh, Leo, that's so 1998.
No, I believe Mr. Nadella said that. We'll be everywhere you want, but the best version will always be on Windows. Right?
So that could be true, but it won't be.
Not for OneDrive.
Yes. Yeah, not here. Yeah. I mean, they're doing this for a reason. I mean, that sync model doesn't work for some technical reason that we don't understand. But they're going to add features that are going to be consistent across clients, and it will be true whether you're on mobile or on desktop PC, whatever, Mac included.
Right.
And that includes the ability to, go in. Yeah, this is the interface I'm talking about.
Yeah,
and it's even worse than the Mac because you get this screwy next step style, what do you call this column view. It's so terrible.
I like it, but I know
but it makes it hard to see the big picture.
Can I make it my Dropbox folder? Would that be weird?
Oh, Leo, please. The universe would implode if you did that.
I think I'm going to do it.
You've deleted the internet.
Open a login. All right. I've deleted. Oh, my God. I'm Dropboxing my OneDrive. I'm OneDriving my Dropbox.
Right. It's like go to 10 in a basic program.
An infinite loop.
But they're going to add the ability to do, share files that other people have shared with you, for example. So this is like a thing that people have been begging for a long time.
I mean, I do have, it says 10.1 terabytes of storage on my OneDrive, so.
And actually, since you put it inside Dropbox, you probably doubled it. I'm not sure on the math on this one, but I assume that has some exponential increase.
But that means my OneDrive will go to Dropbox. I don't. Because that one I have to pay for.
Right.
Wait, I've
Hilarious.
ruined my life.
Your next Dropbox bill is like $1,400.
Really?
Like, what happened here?
10.3 gigs out of 10.1 terabytes.
By the way, the other thing that came up with OneDrive, and I don't think it was in the context of this talk that Mary Jo was just discussing, but someone, or maybe it was during the Q&A, someone asked about where's infinite storage? You've been talking about giving everyone infinite storage. And the story I had heard was that, as you add stuff, they'll increase it. And I've seen that in mine. Mine's gone up to 10 terabytes.
10 terabytes is as much, over the internet is virtually,
that is infinite, for a human being.
Come on.
But what they've said, but this is what people want to see. Available storage, and then like an infinity sign. I think that's what's, people will be happy when that appears.
Yeah.
And so I believe what he said was that would be rolled out, and maybe it was part of the talk. I don't remember where this came up, but by the end of the year across both business and consumer.
There will be an infinity sign. Fear not.
Yep. That's all they want. They just want to see it. They're never going to fill it, but they just,
because it's want to know they have it.
10
They just want to know they have it. And I signed up for Office 365 because you told me that I was going to have unlimited storage. You are a liar.
That's the literal net. Yeah.
You are a liar.
You're a liar, my friend.
I use less than 1% of my current.
Yeah, I use a lot of it, but I'm not going to fill 10 terabytes. Not anytime soon.
Oh, because remember, you have to upload it.
Right.
It's not.
I'll do it on my deathbed, and it'll be like winning.
I finally got to 10.
Yep.
Where's my infinite storage?
Knowing me, I'd get to like 99%, and then my subscription would lapse, and I would just delete everything.
Exactly.
Office Universal App Previews for Windows Phone 10.
Yeah. Are you guys wondering where these are?
Where are
I'm
they?
talking about? If you're running,
because they promised them by the end of April. Is that why you're asking?
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. So these are the Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, and Outlook. Also, I think individual universal apps that you want on your Windows 10 mobile device if you're running the preview. They were supposed to be out at the end of April. Then they were supposed to be out the first week of May. And now we're into the second week of May, and we don't know where they are still. They're still not out. I am starting to wonder if they are going to come out with the next build of Windows 10 Mobile for phones, which could be tomorrow, possibly, based on a Gabe All tweet. Maybe it'll come with that. Maybe it'll come right after that version is out. I've been asking, and we don't know where they are right now, and we don't know why they aren't out. That's all we can tell you at this point for all the people who keep asking me where these are.
Why?
They're coming soon.
They're coming.
Keep hearing that.
Skype
They're going to be awesome.
They'll be so great. You know what was
Whenever they
awesome?
come, they're going to be great.
We got the demo of it, but is the Skype Translator, which is so cool. They lets you do a two-way Skype call, and it does simultaneous translation. And I see that we are about to get it. Is that right?
Yeah. If you're on Windows 8.1 or Windows 10 preview, you can now just sign up for this Skype Translator preview without having to go through an approval process or to wait. So that you'll right away be able to test the 4 languages they're testing it with, which are English, Mandarin, Italian, and Spanish. Those are the only languages you can test it with if you want to do the real-time video and audio Skype translation. So that means somebody's talking to you in Mandarin and it's translating it to you in English if you're an English speaker in real time, near real time.
What do you think would happen if I ran Skype Translator Preview and Skype at the same time?
Be like putting Dropbox in your OneDrive.
Yes, it would.
Worlds would just collide. Yeah. So obviously, this is a Windows Store app. People are asking me if you can use the desktop version. There is no desktop version. It's just a modern.
Oh, that's interesting.
Windows Store version.
Huh. There'll be a Windows Store version eventually, right?
Oh, there'll only be the Windows Store, I believe.
I don't think desktop. No,
I don't think they'll do.
Yeah, I bet this turns into a universal app over time.
Me too.
Well, that would solve it. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Because they've said it's gonna at some point be available on Android and iOS too. Yeah. We just don't know when that will happen. And And the other cool thing is if you want to try doing instant messaging translation in real time, they support 50 languages now on that. So you can just go and try the instant messaging piece of the translation
so cool.
if you don't want to do that.
That's really neat. Although Google's had that text-based version for some time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the really cool bit here is this speaking part where you can talk.
Yeah.
It's like a Babelfish kind of thing.
Flying Roaches says, I've installed it. Now I'm going to have the kids call Grandma and confuse her. But John,
I don't think it translates your text into an arbitrary language. Can I randomize how I sound to the other person?
Do you have to? So does it decide on the language based on what it hears?
You might. That's a good question.
Or do you set? You must set it.
I set it, but that's.
And that's Windows. That's Windows only. Windows 8
right now.
only. So that's
the previews of Windows only.
Nice incentive. Run out and get a Windows laptop. You could talk to Grandma in 4 different languages, but you can't do it on a Mac. But you can't do it on Windows 7.
You cannot.
Only on Windows 8.
Or 10.
Or 10.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Nobody's using 10.
I think, how many people? 1.3 million?
Really?
Or
Wow.
3.1 million.
That's neat. That's a good number.
It is. It's pretty big. How many people are crazy enough to run
it's
these?
enough that you feel like you're going to get a good beta test, right?
Yeah.
3 million
definitely.
people. That's enough. They did update the Office apps for the iPad and the iPhone, however.
Paul, they did?
Yes, they did. Is there anything else I need to say about that?
Nothing.
I don't know. What did they do with them, though? Because they didn't announce this. You just found this.
No, they did a
update
little
all the
thing.
time, right?
Or actually, no. Did they have a blog post? I don't remember if there was a blog post. But so back at Build, you may remember this was kind of funny. Between 90 minutes of Azure coverage in the keynote and then an hour and plus of Windows, it was like a 7-minute little thing about Office, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
It did.
And one of the things they announced was something pretty amazing. It's too bad it got so squished between these big things, but it was that they were going to move their add-ons from the desktop versions of Office apps to the mobile apps. And so one of the things that's in this update is the very first one, which is Excel only for the iPad now supports Office add-ons. And so if there's an Excel add-on for the desktop version of Excel for Windows, you can add it to the Excel on the iPad now, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. And then there's a couple of other small things. Across the apps, they support iCloud Drive, which is Apple's service. And then Word and PowerPoint got a couple of minor updates as well that are specific to those apps. But, I think the big one in some ways is this stealth release of the add-on model for mobile apps for the first time. It's kind of, I think it's kind of a big deal. So that's pretty cool.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Do I really sound like that?
No. I have a T-shirt that says that.
Good.
And now for business, Power BI.
Yeah. So
Guess
if
who's going to talk about this one?
I mean, you could if you want to. But
He knows all about it. Come on, Paul's sandbagging. He's an expert on business intelligence.
he is. He's just kidding. He knows this like the back of his hand, I'm
Yes,
sure.
absolutely. He just chooses not to.
I wear
gloves,
Mary Jo.
Power BI, Microsoft's business intelligence service. If you recall, back in January, they said they're basically working on a new version of it with a lot of updated features, plus a free tier for people who want to just try it for free and use it for free completely. It's that part of that whole freemium business model thing. But they needed a new version of their Windows app to run against the service, and that app is now out. You can go to the Windows Store and download the new Power BI app for Windows. It's an updated version that lets you do all kinds of cool things with data analysis and graphing. So if you want to see things like live dashboards, or you want to see your data being put automatically into different kinds of charts, you can see all of this through this new app. It's obviously a modern app, but it's not a universal app. It doesn't run yet on Windows Phone. So this is not, they've also promised a universal version of Power BI. This is not that. This is just an interim version, but still worth getting. It's free, downloadable from the store. and you can use it against that preview of the Power BI service that came out in January. So it's worth a look. Yeah.
Good. And okay, so let's see. Mary Jo got one.
Just as an aside, I just want to point out that there used to be a collection of tools for Excel that had the phrase Power BI in them, and they've removed that name because people are scared by Power BI. So now they just call it tools for Excel.
Wow.
Oh, really? I never knew that. That's a nice.
It just happened.
See, Paul did have something to say.
See, he did.
It was, and surprisingly, it wasn't very positive.
Oh, but he's so happy about the Xbox update May thingy.
So this one isn't as huge as some of the more recent monthly updates have been, or as, let's see, what does Mary Jo call it? The Xbox May update thingy.
That was Mary Jo.
Now I understand.
Yeah.
It was a placeholder.
She doesn't understand.
Sure.
She just doesn't understand us, Paul.
Sorry.
Not everything they talked about for May actually made it into this update, but the couple that did, because that happens from month to month. Sometimes they'll test features. They don't quite make it along far enough for the general public, so it gets held back a month. But voice messages through the Messages app, which is kind of cool. Obviously, you can message people while the thing is snapped. You're playing a game or whatever, but now you can also leave messages if the person isn't there. And actually, I think the big feature there is that it works between the consoles. So if you have people on a 360, people on an Xbox One, they can still communicate together. So that's nice. If you're using the Smart Glass app on a mobile device, like a Windows Phone, iPhone, whatever, to, sort of as a glorified remote control for your Xbox One, you can now extend that to power the console on or off from the app, which is pretty cool because that wasn't possible before. So now it becomes more of a complete solution if you're using it in that vein. And then the other two don't really impact too many people. I mean, there's a party chat feature. If you use Xbox Online, you know that there are issues with NAT traversal. We've seen this, for multiplayer games and for other things where, depending on the security settings in your router, you might have problems communicating or getting into games. And so they've fixed those over the years, but they still have problems with chat. And so they've set up a dedicated server system for party chat, and that's actually rolling out over time. So that's been in preview for a long time. I think this is kind of a complex technical issue, but starting this month, it will start rolling out to normal non-preview users. So some people, you won't really see it. It's just, stuff just works. You don't really notice it as a feature. And the other one is that power mode thing. The Xbox One by default goes into instant on mode where you can walk up to it while it's asleep and say Xbox on, and it comes right on. Plus it can download updates in the background while it's off, which is kind of useful. The problem is that uses power. And so some people would prefer to have the system just turn off and turn on normally like any device. And you can set it to do that. But now with this update, new Xbox One consoles will offer that as an option during setup. And so when you're first setting up the machine, it will say, hey, these are the two power management options. Here are the pros and cons. Which one do you want? So you can just kind of pick that. It's not really a huge deal, but
no, it is for me because it's been a pain in the butt.
Well, you know what? Here's the problem. Both of these things are a pain in the butt, right?
Yeah, there's not a perfect solution. I get that.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
A perfect solution would be, well, not perfect, but I think one maybe interim solution or solution that would be in the middle of these two things would be for the Xbox to pop on at 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever. Check for updates.
Yes.
And then power down.
Yes.
I think that would actually solve,
yes,
maybe 90% of this.
That would be good.
That will be in the June system update.
Oh, man.
Someday. Anyway, that's the Xbox May update thingy.
Thank you.
Good to know.
Well done, Mary Jo. So glad.
I'm glad we covered that.
So glad we covered.
Yep.
The Xbox update thingy, ladies and gentlemen. Job is done. Job done. All right. I think we're going to take a break because the back of the book is rapidly approaching.
Okay.
Like an oncoming train.
Okay.
Somebody in the chat room is asking, though, maybe I should give you this one, Paul, from Cyber GWJ. He just got a new Xbox One, wants to know, how do you get in the Insider program, the beta? Do they call it Insider on Xbox? Or beta?
No, it's the Xbox One preview program.
Preview,
and
that's it.
You can't sign up for it anymore. I think you have to be invited.
I don't think I could sign up for it. I think you look in your mail.
I think people are randomly emailed.
Yeah.
If they're in, I think.
Do you think there's some basis for how it happens? Like, oh, I see this person buys a lot of games or something like that, or?
Now, when it first started, you could sign up, and they would pick from the list of people who signed up. And now I think it's just.
I don't remember.
I do wish. I do think it should be like the Insider program. I think people that want to be in it should be able to be in it.
Right.
I guess the issue is when you think about the Xbox 360, the Xbox One community, these people tend to be enthusiasts, and I bet some mass majority of people would just join.
Right.
And maybe that's against the point of it. You know?
Right.
But yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad that that you couldn't just sign up for it.
Right.
Our show today, thank you for the answer. I'm sure our cyber dude is happy. Our show today is brought to you by Audible.com, and we're really glad because finally, Paul and I both are Audible fanatics.
Yep.
But Paul's he lives in hope. Every show he puts his Audible pick.
Yep, and I just push it forward to the next week, and it never gets used.
Let me explain what Audible is first, and then we'll get Paul's pick of the week. It's of course, the place to go for audiobooks. I don't even know if there's a close number two. It's like it dominates, and it is so great. When I first started listening to audiobooks, it was part of this long commute I had to Tech TV in the city, and this was probably 1999. I would get them from a company that would send me a box of cassettes. And it would be like 20 cassettes, and you'd only have a month, so you'd really have to listen. And if one of the cassettes was broken, which happened, fairly frequently, you'd have to mail it back and get a replacement. And of course, you wouldn't know that it's broken until you got to that cassette. And then it's like, oh, now I can't listen to my book. And I was so pleased when Audible came out. And it came out at a time when people didn't have MP3 players. They actually had their own audio player. My first audio device was an early MP3 player before the iPod, the Diamond Rio. Remember that?
Yep.
I used to listen on that. It was so great. Of course, that was in 2000 when I first started listening. The iPod came out shortly after that. I listened on iPods. Now I listen on everything. In fact, I pretty much put the Audible app on every phone, every tablet, everywhere, because I want to always be able to listen. And 180,000 titles now on Audible.com. All the bestsellers, everything new. Plus, they've gone back in time and re-recorded books that were never put, especially a lot of science fiction, were never put on audio. They're celebrating the 25th anniversary of Jurassic Park. Right now,
by the way,
yeah,
this is in my wish list. I've been dying to check this out. It's not coming out until June, though, right?
Oh, it's not out now? I thought it was.
No, it's the Jurassic Park. No, this is a new version.
Oh, yeah, Scott Brick's reading it. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I'm bummed. I didn't notice that.
I know. I'm waiting.
Oh, we both love Crichton. So that's a good example. They actually re-record stuff all the time, which is nice because, you get to. But one of the things when you're an Audible member is your library is always good, right? So you can go back. I have 500 books in my library.
My library is great.
Yeah.
It's not just good.
It's great. It is. I just love it. Anyway, Audible.com. I think it is out.
Actually, that says it is out, doesn't it?
Yeah, go get it.
I literally just watched these movies again because I saw this on Audible.
Well, the new movie's coming out. Maybe that's what you're thinking.
So this okay.
Anyway,
this must have just become available.
So if you want to join Audible, they've got a deal. We've got a Windows weekly deal. It's audible.com/Windows. You're going to sign up for the book a month account. That's the gold account. But you'll get it free for the first month. That means your first book is free. You'll also get the daily digest of the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. And the reason we like to do picks is because, you're going to get this first book for free. So what should it be? And I know it's overwhelming with 180,000 titles. So when you were traveling all around, I'm sure you brought Audible with you. Gosh knows.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
By the way, I think this Jurassic Park is shipped Tuesday.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yes. So I drove across the country recently.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Today.
Yeah, because I remember I looked I wanted desperately to listen to this.
Yeah. Awesome.
So I will add that to my. Now I will just get it. But anyway,
just came out.
So so I drove halfway across the country with my dad. So we just kind of talked that whole time. And then when I dropped him off at the airport,
thank God he's out of the car. I can listen.
And then I kept to my own thoughts for about 7 minutes, and that was enough of that. And then I moved on to Audible.
Yeah.
So I think a couple weeks ago I talked about this notion of there were some good books about our industry on Audible, and I actually forgot one, and I re-listened to this. It's really good. The book Dogfight: How Apple and Google Went to War.
Isn't it good? I love that book.
One of the reasons I like it is because it's modern. It's about something that is still happening, really, and it is just a great story. But I also since we're doing a Throwback Thursday about Wolfenstein 3D, listen to Masters of Doom, which is the story of id Software, which is also incredible and a great reading by Will Wheaton, by Wesley or whatever.
Wesley Crusher.
Wesley Crusher.
Yep.
And I also finished off, I'd been listening to, it's a long one, Just After Sunset, which is a collection of short stories by Stephen King, some of which are fantastic, all read by different people as well, which is kind of cool. I like those kind of books. So that's as much time as I had in the car. It was to listen to those.
It's so funny you didn't listen to a new book. You went back to books you love.
Well, like I said, I mean, I've read Jurassic Park, obviously, 20 years ago.
No, but that's cool. I think that's really cool.
I wanted Jurassic Park, but
yeah.
I was looking through my library for industry books, and I realized I had forgotten Dogfight, and I was like, I really want to hear that one again.
Yeah.
And I had never listened to
such a good book. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Highly recommend it. But here's the deal. You got a challenge. You get to pick one. One free right now, audible.com/Windows. Please sign up today. You're going to love it. And we thank them for not only supporting Windows Weekly, but frankly making a service that we just love. Just love.
Yeah. Yep. And as you were talking, I bought Jurassic Park.
Yay!
Well, I have a credit. I used a credit.
No. Yeah. I'm waiting for my new credits. I have 0 credits right now. The minute I do, that's the one. Scott Brick is a great narrator. Here, I'll play a little bit. Just put you in the mood here.
Now, Dr. Cruz said, lowering the plastic flap of the oxygen tent around Tina as she slept. Mike Bowman sat beside the bed, close to his daughter. Mike thought Dr. Cruz was probably pretty capable. He spoke excellent English, the result of training at medical centers in London and Baltimore. Dr. Cruz radiated competence, and the Clinica Santa Maria, the modern hospital in Punta Arenas, was spotless and efficient.
I love it. Oh.
It's funny because this guy had done the second Jurassic Park story.
Yes, Scott's great.
Years ago.
But don't listen to the second one because it's a terrible book.
No, listen to the first one. By the way, the second one is actually kind of a terrible book, as I recall.
Yeah, I think I just said that. I think you're absolutely right. Do not. All right, Paul, your pick or tip of the week.
That was my I'm sorry, the tip of the week.
That was your tip.
That was not my tip.
To more Audible books.
We kind of walked through the tip as just a kind of a news story, but the tip is understanding what you're going to get for free when you upgrade to Windows 10. In other words, if you're on whatever version of Windows, what are you going to get? And it's fairly straightforward. I mean, obviously, if you're on Windows Phone, you're getting Windows 10 Mobile. And there were a lot of questions here, but again, I have to kind of qualify this because we don't have the exact answer. But I would imagine if you're on a home version of Windows 7 Home Basic or Home Premium or Windows 8 whatever core, 8.1 core, I guess, you would get Windows 10 Home. I think that's how this is going to work. If you have a Pro version or up, Windows 7 or 8.1 Pro or Windows 7 Ultimate, I think you're going to get a Windows 10 Pro. But I kind of go through the questions and all that. I have an article up on the site about that. But we talked through much of it, so I don't think we need to belabor it here again. And then my software pick is some software we've been talking about for a while. And Mary Jo, when she went away a couple months ago, used this to provide pictures and information about her trip, Office Sway. And so because I copy everything that Mary Jo does, I have now done this for my road trip. So I have a Sway, as it's called. It's just pictures. Not a lot of text, but I kind of provided a map for each day of the drive, and then a photo, a little photo slideshow of that day. I took pictures each day from the car. And so I drove from Las Vegas, Nevada to Dedham over 4 days.
How do you advance it? Do I press a space bar? Or? Oh, yeah.
No, you just scroll down.
Yeah, all right.
So each day has sort of like a heading.
Nice. Yeah.
And then there's a map. And then that thing under there is a slideshow. And this, I couldn't make those photos bigger. I don't know. I tried every style, but this is what I could do. So,
That was fun. Did you enjoy going for a road trip with your dad?
Yeah, it was a good time. We did a lot of talking. I get to see him maybe 2-3 times a year, and I've actually driven cross country with him before about 5 years ago. In fact, there's a story from that trip that I used in my Windows Phone book because I had an iPhone at the time, and I knew Windows Phone was coming rather, and that Windows Phone would support that pocket to picture thing where you could pull it out and just click the button and get going. You didn't have to log in and everything. And while we were driving, we saw some deer, and he's like, quick, take a picture. And by the time I fumbled the iPhone out of my pocket, signed in, found the camera app and everything, I got a picture of the deer's butt, and that was it. Because, there were probably 5 of them standing there, and by the time I got it out, they were all taking off. And I remember thinking, if I had Windows Phone, I could have captured that.
It's true.
iPhone's improved since then, obviously, and it's much quicker. But that was just an interesting thing from 5 years ago. But yeah, it was good. It was good. I hit a lot of weather. We had some beautiful snow up in Colorado. Like if you go to the next day, actually is really the prettiest one. Going over the Continental Divide there was incredible. And the pictures from this day are just are nuts, or some of them are anyway, because you kind of go up and there's like fog, and you go into the fog, and it's like a Stephen King story. And then it's beautiful, and then it's full-blown winter up at the top.
Up in the hill.
They've got snow the night before.
Look at this. This is so
really
fun.
Neat. Yeah.
This is a very good use. And you took these all with a Windows Phone? Oh, my God. Chicken fried steak.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
I also had chicken and dumplings at Cracker Barrel.
I was going to say, this is almost as good as Cracker Barrel, I think was your...
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, my God. White gravy.
Sure.
That'll kill you.
There isn't anything on that plate that isn't white, Leo. Look at that thing.
OMG. Eat that every morning for breakfast. You're going to live to about 50.
How did you find using this, Paul? Did you find it hard to make a soy? Did you find it hard to make a soy?
So I didn't use many of the features, right? I mean, all I did was put pictures into it and a little bit of text. So it was real basic. Yeah. I found it, it's a new thing. So it was interesting. I mean, there are buttons for, when you put in pictures as a group, you can group them as a thing. And then you can make that thing a slideshow or some kind of a flipping deck kind of thing. You can emphasize some pictures, which do or do not make sense depending on the style of, layout that you choose. You okay there?
Yeah. I was like, I thought I dumped a glass of water onto my keyboard. I was like, yikes.
Okay. So there's a lot more going on in Sway than what I've used it for. I mean, I think like anything else, it takes a little getting used to.
Yeah.
Is that why you asked? Did you find it to be difficult, or?
Well, I think because you are very handy with things like Photoshop, and I'm not. I wondered if it was too easy or too basic for you. Like for me, it's great because I'm not a PowerPoint jockey at all. So for me, it's much easier than that.
So what I would say is I had too many pictures to just have picture, right? That would have been too big of a thing. Yeah. And so when I put them into those little slideshows, I think the thing that disappointed me was you could have a giant photo as a background for some kind of a heading. Yeah. And you could have a single photo that was pretty big, but once you put them into a slideshow, they were just tiny, and there was no way to change that. Yeah. You can click on it to display those things full screen, and that's cool, but I think I would have appreciated a little more. I would have made those the width of the other pictures and had them be big, but I didn't have that choice. And you can, I played with Remix for a little while. You can do that manually where you can, the story or Sway, I guess, kind of goes side to side, right, instead of up and down. That's interesting, but I just wanted to keep it pretty basic for this one. I think when I go away in the summer now, we're going to Ireland in July, and then we're going to France in August. I'll probably do this again as the way I share the stuff publicly. Yeah. I like it. I mean, I need to learn more about it.
Yeah. There's always a trade-off between ease of use and flexibility, and so this is obviously the ease of use side of that. But I think it's a good question. Really, is for somebody who's a pro, is this too simple? Yeah. Too inflexible? I
don't think it's too simple. I think. Well, first of all, it has improved dramatically, right, since day one.
It has.
So I've only used it for one thing. I mean, so it's, it is what it is, but.
And there's all the way back. Holy cow.
Yep.
Did you do this, I'm sorry if you said, did you do this on a computer or did you do it on the phone?
I did it on a computer.
Okay.
The other option would be I could do it on an iPhone, but I didn't do it till I got home. So I'm not sure I would have. I guess I should try doing that.
I mean, that might be one of the most interesting uses. Is it's all on your phone. You take a picture on your phone.
Yeah, when you're out and about. See, I didn't have time to do anything. Well, I drove all day long, right? So these drives were mostly 12 hours ish. Long days.
You got two hands.
So, right. I'm not always driving. That's true. My father did drive part of the way. I didn't. I sort of thought as I went through this trip that I would do a Sway. I never had the time when we arrived wherever we got at the end of a night or whatever I never wanted to open the computer.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not just time. It's like, do I really want to sit down and spend
it's
an
initiative.
hour
I just didn't like when I get home, I'll do this. And that's what I did. But
and how long did it take you?
Maybe an hour.
Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah. I mean, the stuff's all in OneDrive. Like, so, as you take the pictures, they're all syncing to OneDrive, right? So when I go to do this thing, it's in the cloud. The first source that comes up when you say photo is OneDrive. So that's the default. You see the thumbnails on the side. They're all there. I didn't have to do anything. They're all in order. They're in the right order and all that. It was pretty good. I mean, I took screenshots of the map, and I went to, I used Google Maps to navigate on the trip. So I went to Google Maps and made sure it was the way I actually drove, and took a picture of each one of those things.
Looks nice.
Yeah.
I like it. It is a little frustrating, or must be a little frustrating, that the only mobile version is on an iPhone.
Leo, I have no comments about that. I don't know what you mean.
What am I talking
Why
about?
would that be frustrating?
I can't imagine.
I love the iPhone. And I think that Microsoft is right to only support the iPhone.
It's just weird. That's just weird. Especially since that's a crowded, on the iPhone, a crowded category. I'm sure on Windows.
Actually, I am surprised. They announced this October 1st, I think, of last year, if I'm not mistaken. And here we are, it's 6, 8 months, whatever later. And I'm really surprised we haven't seen a Windows app, an Android app. I had expected by this point. I didn't mind them going out iPhone first. I'm surprised we haven't seen more in the way of native apps.
Yes. Exactly.
They did just announce, Sway is being integrated into Office 365.
Oh.
So if you have an Office 365 business subscription,
you can privately host these things.
Yeah, you
against
can
your own.
do that, which is cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
A little love for the Microsoft crowd. Mary Jo Foley, Enterprise time.
Yay.
Oops.
SharePoint, people. Remember, we haven't talked about SharePoint in forever. SharePoint, SharePints, the SharePoint people who drink SharePint. But finally, we're getting some news about the next on-premises version of SharePoint, which is called SharePoint Server 2016.
SharePoint.
And at Ignite, this was a really big theme. There were a lot of sessions about SharePoint. A couple things I want to highlight because there were so many sessions. If you haven't seen them, you should go on Microsoft's Channel 9, find the Ignite sessions, do a filter for SharePoint, and you can see them all. And they're free. Anybody, even if you didn't go to the conference, you can go look at all these sessions and the slides and everything. The couple things I'll highlight from these sessions. One is the timeline. Microsoft's going to make a private preview build of SharePoint 2016 available this summer. At the end of this year, there's going to be a public beta that anybody can get into. And they're saying they're going to ship the actual final bits for this in the second quarter of 2016. So now we know the timeline. A thing that was a bit confusing at the show that I saw various tweets about was whether Microsoft's going to bring Delve and its Office Graph technology to SharePoint. Like, are these things going to be available as part of the next build of SharePoint? The answer is no, because these are technologies that are cloud dependent. But what they are going to do, which is very interesting, is they're going to build a capability so that if you have some of your data stored in SharePoint, some files or documents or whatever else you have up in your SharePoint server, you're going to be able to access the data that's in there from SharePoint Online. So that means if you're, instead of having two different sets of data when you search and you're trying to connect up the entities and make sure that you have a consistent picture in Delve of how things are connected, you're going to be able to get data from not just SharePoint 2016, but also SharePoint 2013 and pull that data in so that when you look at the picture, it looks kind of like Flipboard when you look at it. You'll be seeing a consistent set of data, searching and getting a consistent set of results on data inside your company, even if it's on those servers. So that was a bit confusing, a bit convoluted at the show, but there's a whole bunch of other content up there if you want to look at it about new capabilities that are coming, what they're doing around the old performance point technology and how they're integrating that into SharePoint. There's just a whole lot of stuff. They're not breaking any brand new ground with the new version of SharePoint Server. They're staying in those same areas where it's always covered. But they're definitely kind of tweaking those capabilities and revving them, and they're going to have a new release out next year. If you care, go look at Channel 9. There's just a lot of stuff. I can't even start to do it justice. But I have a blog post on my site with a few bits and pieces. If you have other questions, there are many, many people who went to these sessions. I'd say they were among the most popular sessions at Ignite. So there's plenty of people who can help you on Twitter, or I can direct you to if you need more help.
Great.
It's a big topic. SharePoint, it's like one of those giant servers. It's like 6 servers in one. There's just so much information. Hard to keep up, really. And I should mention one other thing. There's a myth that Microsoft's not going to do any more versions of SharePoint Server after next year. Like that SharePoint Server is the end of the road. It is not. Sorry, not the end of the road. There are going to be more SharePoints coming for on-premises in the future. Microsoft says for the foreseeable future. And the reason is there are some things that people can't put in the cloud, especially for compliance reasons. And Microsoft knows this. So don't believe if you see any of those clickbait headlines saying this is the end of SharePoint. It is not.
This seems like a theme.
It kind of does on the show, doesn't it? Fighting the clickbait headlines that are declaring death on different products.
We're going to call this show I'm Not Dead Yet.
Right.
Codename pick of the week.
Codename pick of the week is Project Margarita. Did you hear about this at Build, Paul? I did not.
It's my favorite kind of pizza.
I found out about it by watching a session that was on Windows 10 for IoT. And remember it when we were at the Brick House, we were talking about all these bridges that Microsoft's building, right. Universal Windows Platform bridges. There's Centennial and there's Westminster. These are all bridges and ways to get technologies onto the Windows platform. So there's another bridge that we didn't know about. It's called Project Margarita. And it's kind of a stretch to call this thing a bridge, but what it is a way to bring together Windows Phone with Arduino boards.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the sound of that. I'm not sure what it means.
Cool.
Use the phone to control the Arduino, or?
Yeah, they showed, they called it Windows Remote Arduino. So
I saw that on their developer site.
That's intriguing.
Yeah. So the code name for this whole effort of bridging the Arduino technology to Windows phones is Project Margarita. So I just wanted to throw that out there in case you hear that code name. That's what that is.
Can I just make a guess as to what the point of this is? Because today I spent a bunch of time on the Raspberry Pi version of Windows 10, which doesn't have a UI per se. You can actually connect it to a screen.
Is it command line? Is that it, or?
Yeah, you remote into it, and then you can control it from there. I haven't explored this very far, but the point is you remote into it. And so I think that's the point here on Arduino, right? That you can have this essentially headless computer system, and normally you would remote into it with a PC, but this capability allows you to do it with a phone. And I think that makes a certain amount of sense.
It does, yeah. Yeah, they were talking about how a phone gives you a lot of the components that when you're building an IoT system you might want, like the GPS, the camera, the sensors. So by connecting the phone to the board, you're kind of getting all these things delivered to you in an easier to consume package. That's actually these days pretty cheap. Like you can get a Lumia, low-end Lumia for $50 or $60, right?
I like that. That's really a good idea.
Yep, pretty cool. Yeah. So if you want to learn more about that, that's another one of those Channel 9 sessions. Just look for the build sessions and look for, they've got 2 different ones on Windows for IoT. One of those 2.
Is there a bridge named Margarita somewhere?
I don't know. I wondered that.
There's a lake named Margarita with my name on it.
It's the type of bridge that only alcohol can do.
I should have. No, it's spelled like the margarita pizza, right?
I think it's Margarita. It's with a GH, yeah.
Herita. Let's see. Is there a bridge? Yes, there is.
Aha!
Ponte Regina Margarita is one.
I like it.
It's in Italy?
Yeah.
Yep. So I guess, sticking with the bridge theme, there's a Margarita bridge.
Ponte Margarita. Sounds good. I'm moving there now. Let's do some beer and head for home.
All right.
Sounds good to me.
How many times have I said that?
So this week, by the way, folks, is American Craft Beer Week.
Happy Craft Beer Week, Mary Jo.
Woo! May 11th to 17th, American Craft Beer Week. So I picked an American craft beer for my beer pick of the week, not surprisingly. One of the other beers I had when I was in Chicago, which is really impossible to get out here on the East Coast, but I think it's available in other places, is from Three Floyds. Three Floyds is one of the most famous craft breweries in the United States, if not the world. They're in Munster, Indiana. Some of their beers are like cult beers. People go everywhere and collect them and trade for them. Yeah, it's kind of insane. Especially this beer they do called Gumball Head, and there's another one they have called Zombie Dust. They have some very famous beers.
This is Yum Yum.
Yum Yum is the one I had, though. It's a really good pale ale from Three Floyds. Just like everything you want in a pale ale. Not too hoppy, nice balance. In fact, I had a number of their beers when I was in Chicago because they're easy to get there because it's close to Munster, Indiana. And all of them were balanced. That's why I wish I found one for Paul, because I know he likes the more balanced, less crazy, insane hoppy beers. And I would say even their IPAs that I had were on the balanced side. So if you ever can find anything from Three Floyds, you should just try it. But especially the Yum Yum Pale. Very nice.
Sounds very good.
Very
Making
delicious.
me thirsty. The explosive, juicy hop profile really is turning me on.
Jeez. That doesn't really sell it.
You know, when I had it, though, I didn't think it was overly hoppy. I thought it was it was juicy. Yeah, juicy, but not like bitter. Yeah,
we got to rethink the way we describe it. Surely
you jest.
There's a better way.
Our show is brought to you each and every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC on live.twit.tv. We'd love it if you join us live and in the chat room, but if you cannot, on-demand versions will be made available upon request at twit.tv/WW or wherever you subscribe to the fine programming you find on the internet, including iTunes, the Xbox Music Store, and I think most people now use the podcast app on their mobile device to get their podcasts. Of course, Windows Phone has a nice one. Paul Thurrott is at Thurrott.com. That's the place to find his writings and his coffee cups and his steins.
My growing collection of logoed merchandise.
I think merchandise is the future for Thurrott.com.
Yep.
Thurrott. You also find him at Thurrott on the Twitter. Mary Jo Foley is easily found at allaboutmicrosoft.com. That's where she hangs her hat. And on the Twitter at Mary Jo, MaryJoFoley. Friends, I thank you for a great show. And
thank you, sir.
I miss having you here to force feed me alcohol, but we'll just have to do that again another time.
Spend more time with us, Leo, and you will die a young man.
My liver thanks you.
Yep.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks, Mary Jo. Thanks to all of you. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.